Alrighty.
All right, so I'll let you start it.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to Clear Views Podcast, where culture meets conversation. It's your boy Bishki, baby, and my gorgeous, beautiful, loving co-host, Tim Big Daddy Simmons. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well.
All right.
So today's a special day, right? You got
Today
some plan
is
for
a
us?
special day. Today we're going to interview you.
Me?
You.
Little old
Son
me?
of a gun, you.
What? I had no idea, bro.
Mhm.
I had no idea. Okay, I'm down with that.
All
We
right.
can do that.
I do want to get into it. I do want to see, I want to learn a little about you, give our audience a little background of where you come from,
Yeah.
your life story. And then, once we start kicking this podcast off, we can kind of get into the content we want to get into.
Hell yeah.
We definitely want to just talk about like where you are
Right.
currently, where you came from,
Yeah.
and where you want to go.
Absolutely.
So, first tell us like, where do you come from and what, let's, give us a little backstory of, your childhood and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, born and raised in good old Victorville, California, which you're familiar with. I'm familiar with.
Yes.
HD. Yes, sir. Born and raised there. Had a extremely loving father and mother, loving sister. I was blessed to have them. Grew up kind of like any other kid. I went to a private school, actually, Victor Valley Christian. And that's where I kind of started to kind of discover myself and like who I was as a person. And, I kind of realized really quickly that not everyone shares my mindset. Not everyone shares my, my opinions on how to treat people and stuff like that.
Okay. So you noticed that at a Christian school?
I did notice that at a Christian school, yeah. And I faced a lot of bullying there. I was a little overweight, still am apparently. I used to be skinny, you know that, but
you were jacked for a minute.
Yep. But when I was there, it was an experience. I was kind of fatter when I was in junior high, and then I got a little growth spurt in ninth grade, and I grew a little and I slimmed out, and then I started to kind of come into my own and build my personality. And I realized, I was a very outgoing person. I love talking to people, love hearing people's stories, and that's kind of the motivation behind doing this podcast with you too. Was I just love hearing how a person got to where they are.
Right.
But yeah, no, just the typical Victorville life. People from Victorville probably understand that, the dirty D. So,
right.
But yeah, just pretty normal existence. Dealt with some things like as a child, but I was, like I said, blessed. My father was an incredible man. God rest his soul. He unfortunately passed recently, but
oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And my mom was still is an extremely hard worker. Shout out, Mom. Oh, Mother's Day is coming up, by the way. So yeah, but we were probably not gonna be. Yeah. So shout out to our moms. She's probably gonna be super pissed after she sees this interview. So, but yeah, man,
I'm sure she's gonna be proud too. Hey,
yeah, sure. We'll see. We'll see if I have a home after this.
What is your relationship with your mom, or your let's say your younger childhood? How was your relationship with mom and dad as you were growing up? Like maybe prior to high school.
Right. That's actually a really good question. I love that you brought that up, because ironically, when I was younger, you would think like a mother would be more, nurturing and loving, and because you're the baby. It was actually the complete opposite. My father was, I was closer with him.
Okay.
Being young at a younger age, just because he was my dad, and I thought he was cool. He was a business owner, successful and stuff like that. So I was a little closer with him. And then my mom was just always a constant. It wasn't like she was mean or anything like that. She is very difficult, and she is the type of person that likes to have it her way. But aside from that, she's amazing. But yeah, I was closer with my father. And then as I got older, I started to grow into a more of a relationship with my mother, especially because she was just always there for me.
Right.
So
now, would you say that's more of a cultural thing, like a typical Egyptian mom type thing, or just like your mom type thing?
No, it's definitely a cultural thing for sure. Because and a lot of Egyptians and Arabs out there will understand that concept as far as like how our moms are, because they are unique, and they're an acquired taste in a sense. You know what I mean? Again, I love my mom. She's great, but she's not everyone's cup of tea sometimes. So,
are Egyptian moms more, I guess, are they the more in control in the family more so than the Egyptian men?
No, I mean, okay. So this is the cool thing about our culture. And I love that you're asking this. we have a more traditional mindset, right?
Okay.
Conservative, right?
So like gender role normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even though my mom is an extremely strong, independent woman,
Right.
the reality was if my father put his foot down, she would submit.
Right. Okay.
And even if you want to speak in biblical terms, it says in the Bible that a good wife is one that submits. Yeah. So it wasn't about giving him power. If anything, it showed how powerful she was, that even though she had her opinion, she took the higher road in sense and said, my husband is saying this, I need to stand by my man and I need to back him up and be his support, So although she had her own opinions and a lot of times, she got her way. But if my father, if it was like a serious matter or something that was intense, if he put his foot down, it was, all right, your dad said that, it's done. You know what I mean? So
that's kind of how it should be.
Right.
If a man is capable enough and competent enough, she's going to trust him. And with her trusting him, it's not really her being in control or him being in control. It's her just trusting that, hey, he's got the best influence and the best, he's got our family at heart.
Right.
At best, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's going to really where she's going to trust him that he's going to make the right decision for you guys.
Of course. Yeah.
Screwed that one up.
Yeah. It was perfect.
But yeah, okay. And how old were you? How old are you compared to your mom and dad? Like at what age did they have you?
Oh, so this is actually pretty crazy. So my dad was 42, and my mom was 38.
Gotcha.
So
they had you later in life.
Yeah, and that was kind of a thing that also I guess was unique about my childhood. It was when I was in school, my dad would come pick me up, and everyone would always be like, "Hey, your grandpa's here to pick you up," and they weren't joking around. They were like, they thought it was legit because he had a full set of gray hair. He's an older man. You know what I mean? He could still carry his own, but he was just he was older, So they always thought he was my grandpa, and I was like, "That's my dad, bro."
Yeah.
So it was a little sad too because I didn't get a chance to play catch with them or basketball with them. He was too old, He would try, things here and there, but just physically, it's not like he was gonna all right, let's run full court. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
but we still had our fun times, and he definitely was one of the biggest influences in my life, and I miss him dearly, obviously, and he was just everything for me. Do
you mind getting into how did he pass? And
so crazy, but back in 2019, he had a aortic aneurysm dissect.
Okay.
And so pretty much the heart, there's the aorta valve or whatever. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for any doctors watching, you can comment and tell us if we're wrong or not. But that valve or that artery or whatever, it goes all the way down the sternum, down your torso or whatever. And I guess his valve bulged. So blood pierced through one layer and it was building up on the outer. So there was 2 layers to it. It pierced through that layer and then it was building up on this outer layer.
Gotcha.
So I'll never forget that day. Actually, I was working at Verizon at the time and my priest called me.
Oh, no kidding.
And I was I thought it was odd because I was he doesn't normally call me like that. And then he called me again. I didn't answer the call because I was with a customer and I didn't answer the call. He calls me again and I was like, okay, something's off here. So I call him back and I'm like, hey, Abuna. Abuna means priest in Arabic.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, Abuna, what's up? And he's like, Bishoy, I don't want you to freak out, but something happened with your dad and we called the ambulance. I'm sure he's fine. But
he was with the priest at the time.
He was at church.
Oh, gotcha.
It was during Easter and there was, it was a blessing, man. Honestly, because if he was at home alone, it would have been done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So he was at church and he got lightheaded. He was sitting down, he got lightheaded, got up and ended up collapsing and they called the ambulance. They took him. He got taken to Desert Valley Hospital and they intubated him. They airlifted him to USC Keck Hospital. He underwent open heart surgery. They had, I believe it was a 5% chance of survival. He survived it though. They ended up having to go in again. There was a complication. He survived that as well. It was literally a miracle for him to survive that.
Sure.
And he started a long road of recovery. He spent 1 month in Keck Hospital. Then he went to a step down facility for another month. And then another month at another facility. And then he finally came home. And he spent the next year and a half trying to recover. And the first half of that, he was doing well and he was making progress. And then out of nowhere, he suddenly lost 30 pounds out of nowhere. Just boom, like that. And then he started to have like a bloated stomach, and it really bad. And it was ascites apparently. So they pulled the fluid from it. They drained 7.2 liters of fluid, which you can think about a 2-liter soda, 3 of those,
a lot.
And they tested it. Unfortunately, it came back cancerous, and he had pancreatic cancer. And I'll never forget that too. It was
how long apart were these?
So the aortic aneurysm was 2019, and then 2021. Sorry, yeah, because Kobe died in 20. That's how I remember it, man. Yeah. And we'll talk about Kobe. But 2021 is February 28th, 2021 is when he passed away. Okay. But he was diagnosed with the stage 4 pancreatic cancer in like January 28th.
Oh, so
3 weeks later, it's done. We had no chance. Like not even an option. It was stage 4 was done. So, and then unfortunately he passed. But I do believe he's in a better place. And it was difficult. That story is actually a big part of what ended up happening with me, as far as like the dark times and whatnot. And I'm sure we'll get into that.
How did your mom take it?
She's one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life. She was, I could tell it affected her, but
I mean, as kids, we get affected some way, but that's her life partner.
Her love,
that's her
soulmate,
that's just, we just explained, that's her alpha. That's the person she trusted, choose to do this world with, and this life with.
Yeah.
So, I think it affects us kids big time, but, I think the wives, and, just the actual, they get really affected by it,
sure.
Probably more than us. And, but she handled it.
Yeah. She, of course she was broken in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I could tell she was trying to be strong for me and my sister.
Sure.
And she did an amazing job at it. And, awesome. I can't thank her enough for it.
Yeah. That's big.
Yeah.
And especially when certain people start to fall apart, because, the loss of life really can really make people fall apart.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to get into.
Yeah.
Next. Before we get into that, what about your sister? How does she handle?
She's also a rock, man. I mean, she is, if anything, I would say she's maybe even a little stronger than my mom in just overall sense.
Mm-hmm. Is she a lot like your mom?
In ways, but she's unique to herself. She has her own persona. But she is one of the smartest, one of the strongest, one of the most like resilient people I've ever met in my life. And she was honestly the glue that held our family together after my father passed, because I was just broken. I was done, and I feel so bad too, because, it was my job to step up as a man. And I was just unfortunately not man enough at that moment, and thankfully, I've gotten my shit together and I'm doing much better now. But during that time, I was a completely different person, and I am so thankful that we weren't talking at that time, because I don't think you would have recognized me. Mm-hmm. And, I was embarrassed too, like deeply, because I look back on my life and I remember how I was, and outgoing, in shape, really fit, girls, and playing basketball, and life of the party and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I mean, 180, like just the complete opposite of that was what ended up becoming, or what happened after, my father passed. And a little bit before that too, there was other things that factored in, but yeah.
Gotcha. Would you say, who do you think you take after more, your mom or your dad?
My dad, 100%. I have all his mannerisms.
Okay.
And my family would probably say, this is a little version of him, a little hood version, version, but a little, he's for sure in me 100%.
Right.
Especially when I get mad, I do certain manners that I can't even help. I know I do them and I try to not do them, but I can't help it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so dude. It's just,
it was like he had just certain facial expressions that he would do when he was upset or something like that, or even joking around and stuff. So, I absorbed all that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Spinning image.
Well, let's get into it. So what did you experience?
Yeah.
Like, how far did you fall down?
Yeah.
What were the reasons you fell?
Yeah.
What were you thinking at the time?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like helpless, or what was, let's get into that.
So
what did you feel?
I mean, kind of leading into that stage of my life, probably we'll say like mid-20s, I was attending Cal State San Bernardino. I was getting my bachelor's in marketing, ended up meeting my second ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
And she was a big part of it. She was a big part of like what I'm going to get into.
Okay.
I met her.
Can do it.
Yeah. Oh, it did it.
Big,
it did it. Although it was my fault, and I have a crazy story as far as how it ended, and I'm actually a little nervous to say it because if I do say it, I'm pretty sure I'll never have a chance with a girl again. But fuck it, YOLO.
Hey, honesty goes a long way with girls.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Don't hold it against me, girls, please. Don't hold it against me. But yeah. So I met her, and she was my fucking soulmate, like without a doubt. She was my soulmate.
Problem number one,
big time. And life was absolutely. I've never been as happy as I was when I was with that person.
Right.
And she just literally, as cheesy as it sounds, she completed me. She had the same sense of humor. She was gorgeous, pure heart of gold. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like we really bonded over humor. Like she had the same sense of humor, and that's like really what did it. And like I said, she was hot, which didn't hurt either. Yeah, it helps a little bit. So we were dating, everything was good. She actually met my sister and my family, and my sister has never liked any of my girlfriends.
Okay.
And that was the only one she's ever liked. So that was like another sign for me.
Very big, yeah.
Fast forward, I think we dated for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But towards the end, unfortunately, I saw potential issues in the future with her family. And it was more like, unfortunately, the one bad thing about my culture is there's a lot of pressure that parents put on the kids. And as far as like to conform to like their ideal life, like what you should do, go to school, get married, have kids, go to church, whatever, get a job. And typically Arab parents envision you marrying an Egyptian or an Arab woman, or vice versa, Arab guy.
Sure.
And she wasn't. She was Moroccan, actually, Moroccan and white. But her mom, I just kind of bumped heads a little bit.
Okay.
Great woman, nice, very nice. Like nothing against any of them. But I just saw maybe there could be an issue there as far as like my parents and her mom getting along. Unfortunately, her father passed away, so it was just her mom. And her mom was great, like really sweet lady. But I just saw there might be some butting of heads. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I decided to break up with her, and I broke up with her on her birthday.
Oh,
yeah. But I gave her a present still. And I actually was crying. She wasn't even crying. I was crying because I was so torn, because I knew I was letting go of my soulmate. I knew I was doing that. And looking back now, maybe it was the right decision. Part of me thinks it wasn't, but when I did that, I was, broken. Like I broken again. Like I was heartbroken, especially so heartbroken, mind you. Evan can attest to this, that I had a heart attack.
Gotcha.
In 2017, May 8th,
so
at the gym.
Prior to your dad's passing.
This is all prior to my dad passing. Yeah. It's kind of leading into that.
Gotcha.
So I have the heart attack. We had broken up. I have the heart attack. I go to the hospital. I mean, a legitimate heart attack.
Right.
At the time, though, I was
20, what?
27.
27.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So just to give you context, during that time, I was starting my master's, my MBA at Cal San Bernardino as well.
Okay.
And I was doing a double MBA. I was doing 2 MBAs at the same time.
Okay.
It was a lot of fucking work, right?
Stress,
and I doubled the load. Like typically when you're in grad school, I could be wrong, but this is what I remember. It's typically like a 2-class allotment. Like you take 2 classes per semester or quarter. So to double that and take 4 classes in graduate program is like taking like 8 classes in your undergrad.
Wow.
So I was under a lot of stress. I was working out with Evan at the time.
Right.
And at the time I was actually prescribed medication, something called Vyvanse. Okay. And it's something that it's kind of like Adderall in a sense. It gives you focus.
Okay, gotcha.
So I remember that day I went into the gym with Evan, and that was finals week. So of course, Evan likes to go in the morning. We were going at 3:30 in the morning. Okay. So just give me an idea of my day during that time. I would wake up at 3:30, go to the gym with Evan. We'd lift till about like 5 a.m. I'd come home, shower, maybe grab a little bit of food, and then I would head out to Cal San Bernardino, get there maybe by like, I don't know, like 8, 9.
Mhm.
And then I would have classes all day until about 10 p.m.
Oh my goodness.
My last class was at 10. Drive home back from Cal San Bernardino to Victorville and try to get some sleep. And then I'm up again at 3 o'clock.
Right.
So I was only getting like 3-4 hours of sleep
Right.
during that time. So I think what happened was I started getting really fatigued. I ended up doubling up my dose that
To stay focused 'cause
that
you're so
day.
tired.
Yeah, I was so tired, and it gave me energy.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow.
So I took double the dose, which was stupid. Went to the gym. I was still tired. Drank a energy drink.
Oh my goodness.
And then, of course, Evan,
Yeah.
he's lifting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
joke
yeah,
with that
yeah,
guy,
yeah,
right?
of
So
course.
we're hitting legs, and I'm fucking cranking them out. We're the full stack, and I'm doing legs, and we're doing RBF. We were doing the blood flow restriction. So I have a fucking tourniquet around my quad,
Right.
and I'm pumping. And I remember I got up, I took 4 steps, pop,
Dropped.
felt it. All the cliche,
Ooh.
smelt burnt hair. You can, the pressure on your chest, the pain down the left arm,
Right.
all of that
All
I
of it.
experienced. So it was funny because I stop in my tracks and I'm like, okay, that doesn't feel right.
Right.
And then I look at Evan and I'm like, I'm not trying to be stupid, bro, but I think I had a heart attack. And at this point, I'm like on the ground.
Right.
I'm like laying there.
Right.
He walks over me and is like, I'm going to go
What to
finish
do,
calves.
right.
I'm going to go finish calves,
Workout
bro.
partnership.
Like a freaking G, bro. And I'm just like,
Evan.
wait, Evan. So I end up getting, and he legit left. Like he did not come back. I get up.
In Evan's defense,
Yeah.
okay, there's been a lot of cry wolves.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
Yes.
enough. Yeah. There was a few times
Right.
where I left the workout early because
Yeah.
I was just like, I ain't feeling
got
this.
something to do. It's not my
Yeah.
thing. So Evan's thinking cry wolf. So
He's definitely thinking that for
He's
sure. I
definitely-
don't blame it at all. And he
Definitely.
felt so bad afterwards
Of course.
too. And I love Evan to death. He knows I love him. So,
but what a story.
yeah, but what a story. But yeah, so I end up pulling myself together. I get onto a chair and this other guy walks by and he's like, hey dude, are you good? He was like a regular that we knew. He's like, hey dude, are you good? And I was like, man, I don't know, man. I don't want to sound stupid, but I feel like I had a heart attack.
Right.
He's like, dude, do you want to call the ambulance? And I'm like, I was like, I'm breathing. I'm alive. Like I'm still conscious. Like I'm sure I'm just overthinking it.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm fine.
Maybe you are. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I drive home.
Okay. And still at this point, you still feel the arm.
Oh,
you still feel the
100%.
chest, right? Okay,
100%.
wow.
Yeah. I drive home. I take a shower. I'm like, maybe I'll feel better after the shower. I get out the shower. I'm like, this shit ain't right.
Right.
Like there's something wrong
Right.
for sure.
Right.
I was supposed to, because again, I was in grad school at the time. I was actually teaching an undergrad class for business statistics.
Wow.
And yeah. And I emailed with the professor and I'm like, this is actually legitimately
Right.
a medical emergency,
Right.
because, college students
Yeah,
will
yeah, for
always come up with shit. So I tell her, I'm like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. Something's wrong. I end up going to the hospital and they do the EKG. They're like, your EKG is cool. And then I'm in the room and this is actually insane too. I'm in the bed and my dad's sitting there and the nurse walks in and she's like, so you had a heart attack. And when I hear that, I'm like, huh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I
At
look
your
over-
age, I mean, that's gotta be like blown away.
But it
Right.
just didn't hit me. Like it was like almost, I was just like, all right, so what's next? Like medicine, what?
Can't work out for a while.
Yeah. I was like, I'm still alive, so I'm good. I look over to my father and I was 27 at the time. In my 27 years up until that point, I've never, ever seen my dad shed a tear.
Mm.
Never. Not after his family members have passed, his sisters, his siblings.
Right.
None of them have
Shed a tear.
none.
Right.
And I look over to him and I see a tear running down his eye
Right.
or his face. And at that moment, it hit me. I was like, oh shit.
This is a big
Like
deal.
this is for real,
Mhm.
And I had to console him. I was like, Dad, it's okay. Like I'll be okay, And it was just a really intense moment.
Yeah,
I mean,
man, I can imagine.
yeah. So fast forward, I'm sitting there. By the way, cool little fact, the way if you had a heart attack is they'll test for a hormone called troponin.
Okay.
It's only released when your body experiences that type of trauma, heart trauma, like the heart attack. And
that's just done through blood work.
blood work, yeah. Okay. So here's the crazy part. Typical average troponin, I believe, is 0.000435.
Okay,
that's what you should be at.
Hardly any. None.
Mine was 1.7. Okay,
clearly
initially, right. They're like, yep, you had a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. We need to schedule you for an angiogram. They're going to do this angiogram tomorrow. Okay. That was the plan, to do it in the morning tomorrow. They test my blood 4 hours later. The troponin came back 7.2. They said, we're doing an emergency angiogram right now.
Right.
Pulled me into the freaking operating room.
So does that mean you're continuing to have a heart attack?
I don't know.
Gotcha. Wow.
I have no idea.
So even now,
I still don't know until this day, but they freaked out.
Right.
And when the doctors freak out, you freak out.
Yeah.
No, I was like, okay, I'm dying.
Whoa,
this is real. I was like, all right, guys, it's been real.
Right.
So
at this point, did you tell them all the substance you took that day?
So
and you got into all that.
So the crazy part was they obviously did blood work.
Okay.
And then the doctor comes in and he's like, he was Indian.
Okay.
I want to do his accent so bad because I can do it really well, but whatever, fuck it. So he comes in and he's like, I need to doctor you. And I was like, what's up, man? He's like, alone. So my parents leave. They're wondering why. And so he's like, we found
keep doing the Indian accent.
we found methamphetamines in your system. I was like, yeah. I was like, I take Vyvanse,
so it is a methamphetamine.
It's like Adderall. So Adderall is,
I didn't even know that.
The only difference between methamphetamines and Adderall is like one molecule.
Gotcha.
That's it, literally. So it's going to show in your blood work as like meth.
Right. Whoa.
It wasn't.
Right.
It was Vyvanse. It was prescribed by a doctor, I wasn't taking it illegally or anything like that. So, I was telling him like, yeah, it's just Vyvanse, man. I was like, I take it. I was prescribed it. He's like, oh, okay. That's different. But he's like, still, you should probably not take it anymore. Right. I was like, probably not. Yeah, it's a good idea. The whole heart attack thing was probably a sign. Yeah. Maybe just chill out on it. So after that point, he was like, okay, now I understand, whatever. Let's go to the
back in.
Yeah, you come in. Your son's a drug addict.
Right.
So, pretty much. So we do they take me into the operating room, and God forbid you ever experience this, but during an angiogram, you have to stay awake, and they put a catheter through your groin.
Gotcha.
So they're sticking it right up in there,
right,
all the way up to your heart,
right,
and you're just chilling,
right.
Although they did hook it up with the good stuff, and I was definitely
not feeling
like, I didn't feel. I felt pressure, but I didn't feel pain. Right. And I'm telling you, dude, like to see your heart on the screen because they're like taking images, and it just looked like an octopus. I don't know how to explain it. But it was probably because I was fucked up, but it was just like an octopus. Bro. It was insane. It was a cocktail.
Yeah,
it was a cocktail. So. Yeah, I do the angiogram, thank God, and they didn't have to do anything, no stents, nothing like that. And
so was there a clot? And where did the clot? So a clot?
No, it was.
That's what a heart attack is, right? A clot gets stuck.
It was. So it was my LAD, my left anterior descending artery, which is also called the Widowmaker.
Okay.
The most distal portion of it was 100% blocked.
Okay. And that's from diet, or what made that blocked?
Right. So crazy thing is 3 months prior to that incident, I was at the doctor's office and my doctor was like, hey, your cholesterol is a little high on the LDL. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I'm 27. Right. I work out. I'm good. If I would have started to take the cholesterol medication at that point and also filtering on maybe like a baby aspirin, I probably would have never had it.
Gotcha.
But because of that, because of the fact that I was also like lack of sleep, taking the Vyvanse, a caffeine, whatever, energy drink,
right?
All those things,
all those cocktails.
Exactly. It was like the perfect.
Your arteries were
stressed the fuck out. Stressed the fuck out. Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
And also got some cholesterol in there too. So, but luckily, like I said, now I've got a way better hold on it. I take the medication, and I've been okay since.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. I feel like I was getting to a point too, I think, right? Or no?
Yeah. You're just basically getting into like,
I
actually remember now with the doctor.
Yeah. So to factor in my ex, at that time, like I said, we broke up, and we were still texting though.
Okay, sure.
So I'm telling her what's going on, and she's like, I'm coming to see you. Right. So at the time I get out of my surgery or whatever, the angiogram, and they put me into the ICU for at least just one night for monitoring.
Sure.
And it was like around like 8:00, and the hospital was like, "Oh, guests, the cutoff is 8:00." So I felt bad. She used to live in Riverside, so I was like, "I don't want you to come all the way over here, and then they're going to turn you."
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because after that moment, I don't know what happened, or like what her mindset was or something like that, but after that, it's like it was like completely done after that point. You know what I mean? So it was like the worst time ever. You know, I lost the love of my life. I just had a fucking heart attack because of it, technically. And you know, I'm laid up in the hospital. Like this is like where my depression really came into play.
Okay.
And this is where my life really started to get dark.
Okay.
And you know, not a lot of people know this about me, even friends.
Yeah, I haven't heard this yet.
Yeah.
So this is all.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
yeah, and I'm
this is all
a little nervous to tell you, actually.
You know.
But yeah, so during that time, I get out of the hospital, and I think the reason why I started getting depressed was because I was like, I'm not the same Bishoy anymore. Like I can't work out like I normally, like I have restrictions now.
Yeah.
And that in my head, the fact that I'm like restricted,
yeah,
it fucked me up for some reason.
Okay.
Like it made me feel like, what's the point? Why even try? I can't go the max level. So why am I even gonna try? You know, if I go the max level, look what happens, you know? And it was just, I guess, the way I was thinking, but it just starts to take a wear on me, you know? And again, mixing with like the love loss, you know, and also at that time, I think what also played a huge factor, and I'm not even saying this to sound like cocky or anything, but I was like mastering school in a sense. Like I was making the dean's list every quarter. I wasn't feeling challenged. Like I had a grip on everything. Like I could handle it. Like I was getting good grades. I was doing what I needed to do, whatever, work, school. Like I had a grip on everything. So like my reality was like secure. And I guess I was getting bored with life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that boredom tied in with the depression, it started to make me look for outlets that weren't the best outlets. Right. And at that time too, I was starting to like gain a little bit of weight too. And in between that, like the story is kind of like all over the place, but in between that too, like I did get into another relationship, and that was not a good relationship. It was a pretty toxic one. And I started to really lean on those outlets. And for me, it was like pain medication. And my first experience with it was actually at 16, because I broke my arm and they prescribed me pain medication because I had 3 surgeries on my wrist. And I was like, this is chill. I like this feeling. It's like a good feeling.
Yeah.
But you know, at 16, I left it alone after I finished my prescription.
I do remember that.
Yeah, but I remember that was like my first taste of it. And you know, my experience, but I was like into basketball then and Kobe and all that. So I was like, I don't care about it.
Right.
But when I got into my 20s, it started to come back into my life periodically, because with the group of friends that I hung out with, they would like to drink. I wasn't a big drinker. I didn't really enjoy it. It was cool. So I was usually like the DD a lot of times. Yep. But the times that I was just kicking it or whatever, and we were out and about, I was like, man, I don't like to drink, but you know, I want something to just chill me out. So I'd be like, I'm like, oh man, you know, perks are pretty comfortable. Like they feel good. Like that's a good feeling. So I would like take them here and there randomly. And then as I got into my later 20s and I was experiencing all this, I was like, you know what would numb the pain? A perk. And then I would started using them again. Now, I don't know what it is about me, but my tolerance to things is inhuman.
You can take a lot.
Bro, you have no
okay.
effing idea.
Right.
Okay.
Now, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So is it so I have a very low tolerance to everything, right? So with that being said, but I don't know if it's, do I have a low tolerance or do I not like the feeling of anything different? And that's where my low tolerance comes from? Or do you just enjoy the feeling so much that you want to feel more of that feeling?
It's definitely that. It's like my body could handle it.
Okay.
And I enjoyed that feeling. And it was like
more is better type thing.
Yeah. Okay. Because the thing is with that type of medication is your body becomes accustomed to it. Your tolerance does build.
Sure, yes.
So as it builds, you don't have that euphoric feeling as much. Gotcha. So you chase the dragon, as they say. Right. You keep pursuing that high, but the reality is you'll never get that first high again. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to happen. Your body's already been exposed.
Right. I've heard that I don't really know what that feels like, but I understand what.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about that.
Oh, for sure. You know, so, and the reason why I even want to talk about this and why I'm willing to talk about this is because I do know what it feels like to be alone. Mm-hmm. I do know what it feels like to be in that black abyss, staring up, thinking, fuck, I'm never going to get out of this.
So do you think you did it? I mean, when you lost the girl, the problems with your dad, do you think that gave you like lower self-worth and you just didn't love yourself enough? Or what was that? What did you think that looking back at that moment now, with more of a clear head?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's what there's a core issue here, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that the drugs did it or the girl or it's all this is a single player game in life, right? The girl, it wasn't the fault of the girl. It wasn't the fault of dad.
Right.
This is something internally going on in your brain
100%.
That is triggering you to react in these certain ways, right?
Yeah.
And so what do you think that was? I mean, do you feel like you just didn't love yourself enough?
100%.
It's really just a self-care.
100%. I didn't love myself, and I just gave up on the concept of like life. I never actively tried to like commit suicide or anything like that, but I damn well wasn't doing anything that stopped myself from killing myself.
Right.
So I didn't actively pursue it, but I was like, my mindset was like, if I fucking die, fuck it, YOLO, right. Like I just didn't care anymore.
Right.
And I think where that stems from too is, I've thought about this a lot, and I love psychology, and I love how the brain works. And that's why I'm so fascinated by people's stories, because when you understand their childhood and their experiences and their traumas, you're going to understand the person you're looking at in that moment.
Yeah.
Present, face to face. And for me, I think it was a few things. I think culturally, although my family I was truly blessed, truly, like I could never ask for a better father, a better mother, a better sister. But the one thing we did lack was the ability to show emotion with one another and the ability to show affection with one another.
Interesting.
And although my dad loved me and I knew he loved me, we weren't like the type to be like, I love you, Dad.
Right.
Hug.
Right.
He showed his love through his actions. I love you because you have a roof over your head.
Yeah, right.
I love you because there's food on the table.
Right.
I love you because there's clothes on your back. I love you because there's money in your pocket.
Right.
And my mom, same thing. I love you because
every
I'm
night
in this house.
Yes.
I love you because I'm making food for you. You know what I mean? So they showed their love through action. And that's kind of like their love language in a sense,
100%.
People.
My wife has the exact same story.
Exactly.
And and I think that is.
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing.
It is.
Absolutely.
She's Filipino?
Cambodian.
Cambodian.
Yes.
Okay.
So, very similar. I mean, word for word story.
Yeah.
It's just the no hugs, no I love yous, none of these things. And, very similar stories on a lot of this. So.
Yeah. And what I ended up realizing was because I didn't get that love or affection in a sense from them, I ended up turning to my Americanized friends for it. I would always open up to them about stuff. I never could go to my father and my mother and my sister and say like, this is what's going on with me. Like, I don't feel happy or I don't feel this. Like I couldn't do that.
Right.
I couldn't have that conversation. It just wasn't a reality. So I would go to my boys. I'm like, bro, I'm fucking depressed, dog. But although they were my boys and they showed love, like they're not gonna care about me as much as my father would or my mother would or my sister.
They're just as immature as you were. So
Right.
they don't even know how to care for you.
Exactly.
Like a father would.
They weren't going to guide me the right way.
No.
Yeah.
They
were like, let's get fucked up, bro. That's how we solve
that's
all our
what we do.
problems.
Yeah.
That's the mindset at that age. Yeah.
Right.
So, it just added to the fuel, So I think it was 100% a combination of boredom, a combination of the love loss, and then also, just the not loving myself as well,
Yep.
And the reality was, unfortunately, it got a lot worse, and I ended up graduating to more intense medication. You
Okay.
know?
So you're taking painkillers,
Mhm.
painkills
Killers.
now,
Yeah.
painkillers
Yeah.
now.
Uh-huh.
What are
Not now, but back then,
yeah?
yes. Okay.
What were those painkillers, and what when you say graduated, like
Yeah.
what are what's A and what's B? You
I'll
know,
give you the full 411 on narcotics.
Right.
So
get into it.
you have, God, this is so bad that I'm like fucking an expert on this, but there's different types of narcotics. Okay. There's, for instance, like tramadol, which is like a synthetic narcotic.
Okay.
It's more mild. It's like given for like mild pain.
Okay.
Okay. It can give that euphoric feeling.
What were you taking first?
I was taking, at the start of it, I was taking like something called Percocet,
Okay, Percocet. Okay.
also Norcos.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
think most people don't know.
So if you're gonna go on like hierarchy real quick, it's like tramadol, Norco, Percocet, Oxy.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dilaudid maybe. Dilaudid is like hydromorphine,
Okay.
and then there's something called fentanyl.
Okay.
Fentanyl is the big one now.
Yes.
That is,
Everyone's killing it.
if I'm not mistaken, it's 6,000 times stronger, 60 times stronger than morphine. It's X times stronger than
Right.
morphine. So that's saying a lot, right? I literally went through the whole ladder. Like I started off with tramadol,
Okay.
graduated to Norco, graduated to Percocet, graduated to Oxy, and then graduated to fentanyl.
So at all those stages, were those all prescription stages, or were they
Some
like,
of them were,
okay?
and then some of them weren't. And
Gotcha.
that's a crazy story in itself because, man, especially when I got into fentanyl, unfortunately, my connect was, he was no fucking corner boy. Like this guy was,
Oh, so this was like black market fentanyl.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. Straight out of across the border.
Right. And it was just straight fentanyl. It wasn't like another product laced with fentanyl.
I mean, who knows? I mean, when you're getting that kind of stuff,
Right.
it's like, it's a toss up, and that's the scary part.
Right.
And but the reality was, these medications are really expensive black market, and it's hard to get a prescription,
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So
A lot of liability.
yeah, 100%. So, I can't talk about it too much, but I came across this connect, and
Right.
he was a big time player, and me and him had an arrangement, and I actually have a funny story with him. But so he was my source.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I mean, he had unlimited source. So that was a problem too.
What was this time frame like when you were, still like, as you went up that ladder?
Yeah.
Like, what's that time frame?
Okay.
look
So
like?
I would say that like I started to dabble back into it. Like when we're talking about at 16, I had my first experience.
Okay.
And then I would say probably at 22,
Okay.
I started to like take it like recreationally, like just here and there. Like, oh, I'm going to a hookah lounge. I'll pop one. Looking
This
back
kinda
now,
right after we stopped hanging out.
literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah. So it's your fault, Tim.
Right.
You left me. Look what happened.
You're right.
See what happens.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah. I started off with like the tramadol, graduated to, 22 was like when I started to dabble again, here and there, nothing crazy.
Right.
It wasn't until probably after my second X that I started to like be a little bit more consistent with it. And then I met my third X, and that's when I made the jump from Percocets to fentanyl.
Okay. And
And
was she aware that you were?
she
doing
was
this?
actually the first person to catch me.
Oh.
So there's different ways you can take that medication.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I did like the Wolf of Wall Street way, where I would crush it down and I would actually snort it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is why I
Now,
didn't
did
want.
she think it was Coke or something like that?
So when that happened, I was pulling up
Just
to
caught
her
in the
house.
bathroom?
No. I was actually in the car. So I was pulling up to her house, and she was like, "Where are you at?" And I was like, "I'm pulling in, relax."
Right.
And I was like trying to get another hit in before I
Right.
go up. So I got it, I'm cracking it down and all that stuff. And then I think she's in the apartment. I didn't know she was outside of the apartment, and she saw my car. So she walks over, she knocks on the door, and I freak out, and I look, and she's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Nothing, babe." And I just like, I'm like, "I'll be right there right now." And then I pull in, and she's like, "What the fuck was that?"
Right.
And then she started doing some research, and she like found it. She like realized what it was. And
This was the illegal stuff. I mean,
yeah.
the
This
high-
is the
from your
fentanyl
connect?
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's actually what kind of started the issues in our relationship a little bit. There was other issues, but it kind of started like the domino thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, you fucking,
This is gonna be
enough that I'm
downfall
paying
of
for the
us.
apartment and giving you a car. You got to fucking blow up my
Right,
shit too, man.
right.
So yeah, it was all bad. But yeah. So that's when I switched over to that. And, I mean, it was bad, Tim. Like I'll tell you this. This is the funny story with my Connect. I picked up a lot from him.
Okay.
I actually did the math on it. And over that time frame that I switched over from perks to fentanyl, it was like a 5-6 year period that I was using
This
it.
is a while, yeah.
Yeah. So I did the math on it, and it was just north of $500,000 that I spent.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so anyways, with that being said, I was able to consume a lot. I just had a insane tolerance.
Right.
So I would pick up like,
Do you feel like you actually purchased that amount, or he was able to hook you up at that amount?
oh no, that's money spent.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
100% money spent. Yeah.
Yeah. This is an addict.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, straight up.
Full deep into it. 100%. And the I don't even know who that guy was
Right.
when I was
So throughout the day, what did that look like?
Whew,
It's
Lord.
morning a couple times, afternoon a couple times. Like it was
Bro.
just basically an all day thing.
My life at that time
Right.
consisted of wake up and how the fuck am I gonna get more?
Yeah. So literally.
My life literally consists of what am I gonna do to get more? How am I gonna get money to get more?
And now, was this more of like so you were just trying to escape life?
Yes,
Really? That's really what it was? It was just an escape. So you just kind of numbed you.
100%.
So you just didn't want to feel
I just didn't want to feel anything. And after my third ex, I completely became a recluse. I mean, I would go to work only to make money to buy, and I would come home, be in my room. You never saw me out.
Right.
I never went out. I didn't talk to anyone during that time. I was alone. And it's a very dark, cold place when you're in that abyss, man. Let me tell you something. It is a very, I mean, you see, when I say you see darkness, you see fucking darkness, bro.
Right.
And it was a scary thought. You know, I felt trapped. Like I felt like I'm not going to get out of this hole. For those that know, man, like the reason why it's so hard to get away from these drugs, especially narcotics, you know, aside from the addictive personality that the drug has, the withdrawals. I've never experienced pain like withdrawals. I rather break my arm and not fix it than go through withdrawals.
So is fentanyl still, it's a narcotic?
It's a narcotic.
So it's like a meth.
No, narcotics are opiates.
Okay, opiates. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm super.
No worries. Yeah,
super green on all this stuff.
we get it, Tim. You
Okay.
don't do drugs.
Right.
You don't have to shove it in my face, bro. No, meth is more like an upper, like cocaine, like a stimulant.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes
Yeah.
sense. So the Percocets are more like no. What was the first one you were taking?
Tramadol.
No,
they're
I mean,
all the same.
what were you taking when you had the heart attack?
Vyvanse, which is like an Adderall,
An Adderall. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's a
stimulant.
That's like a meth.
That's an upper.
That's an upper.
Yeah.
And then the fentanyl is more like a number,
Like a downer.
a downer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't taking Vyvanse anymore, by the
Yeah,
way.
you weren't taking
I
this
was
together.
strictly just on the
Okay.
opiates.
Okay.
And the fentanyl, I would buy like 60 at a time.
Okay.
So the funny story with my Connect is I bought 60 on a Friday. Friday like morning, I think it was. Saturday night, I text him. I'm like, yo, bro, I need to re-up. He's like, what the fuck you mean you need to re-up?
Right.
I just gave you fucking 60 yesterday.
Right.
So he was getting mad because he thought I was selling them.
Mm.
I was like, bro, I'm out. I went through them.
Right.
He's like, you went through 60 in one night? I was like, yeah, man. He's like, bro, there's no fucking way you went through 60 in one night. That's
Right.
not humanly
Yeah,
possible.
he's calling your bullshit.
I was like, dude, I swear to you on everything, I went through all 60.
Right.
He's like, bro, you're the blue god. And that was his nickname for me after that.
Okay.
Because they're blue, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. And people that know will understand that. But yeah, so he deemed me the blue god from that point on. And that was like what I was known within those circles. But literally I could go through 16 when I don't, if there was like a doctor or someone watch, they would actually, I can prove it too. Cause let's jump forward to when I did my first stint in rehab. This is actually a pretty funny story.
First stint in rehab.
Well, I did a detox center one time, and then I only did one stint in rehab. Okay. But the detox center is like kind of like it, but it's only 7 days. Rehab is like 28 days.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah. So I went to. I'm jumping forward a little bit, but it'll just to play to the story. But I finally tried to go to rehab. Whatever. I go to rehab at Hoag Hospital. Great facility, by the way. Shout out Hoag Hospital. And
it's right there in Newport.
Okay, yeah. And I get in admitted or whatever, and I do the 7 days. The requirement is you have to do 7 days of detox first, and then they move you over to the long-term facility for the 28 days.
Okay, so this is all in conjunction.
Yeah, so it's like detox centers right here. You walk across the hall, and then now you're in the housing unit. It's beautiful. It was really nice. Like it was a big space. There's
and the detox unit is when you're going through the withdrawals.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why it's almost like you need medical treatment at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the other part is like, okay,
you cannot handle. There's no way. I mean, if it's definitely possible, but to go through withdrawals with no medical aid,
right,
bro, God bless you,
right,
if you can,
right,
but the reality is you have to at least go through it for 3 days. So there's a medication that they prescribe called Suboxone, and that's for like opiate withdrawals. And what it does is when you consume narcotics, there's receptors in your brain that medicine attaches to.
Right.
As you take more receptors grow. Right. When you stop taking that medication, these receptors, you have now a shit ton of receptors that are like, where the fuck is it?
Right.
So your body starts to freak out. Right. This medication was developed to have the same type of molecule that attaches to these receptors to stop you from feeling the withdrawals. But you're not feeling a high. It's not like a drug in that sense. Like like you could take it and drive a car.
Right.
It's
just satisfying those.
It's just preventing that feeling. Right. Right. Okay. Now, the thing is though, you cannot take it for at least 72 hours
after you've taken a drug.
The last dose you took. So say I took something on like a Monday, I wouldn't be able to take my first dose of Suboxone until Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you take it before that time frame, it will throw you into an even worse withdrawal.
Ooh.
So it's like a slippery slope.
Right.
But you're going through fucking hell and you want something to help you stop going through that hell.
Right.
And if you take that, it's going to make you fucking go through even more hell.
Right.
So it's like, fuck, So you have to wait.
Is it like, okay, so day one, is it progressively getting worse up until the 72 hours? Or is it like right out the gate?
Bruh.
Really rough?
No, it progressively gets worse.
Okay.
So this is how I'll explain it. Say during that time, I took my last dose, right? I'm like, all right, I'm stopping. Okay. Probably 1 hour into it, I'm going to start getting hot flashes, like sweats.
Okay.
Okay. Then immediate freezing, like I'm cold. Okay. So you'll get that hot, cold flash. Okay. Then it'll migrate to like extreme body aches, like where it feels like someone has been able to grasp around your bones and they're like slowly just breaking them. Okay. In addition to extreme muscle spasms, muscle spasms and muscle pain. In addition also to like your brain is just so fucked up at that point. Like I couldn't think. If you asked me something, I would be like you have no energy. You have nothing. Your body is just fucking on the fritz. And you're hot 1 second, you have you take the blanket off, you're cold 1 second, you take the blanket back on, like, and you're just like, fuck. And then there's something called restless leg syndrome. And that is a son of a bitch. Restless leg syndrome is pretty much what you see when people are tweaking.
Okay.
Like my legs, like I had to just like, I can't keep still. Like I had to move them.
Right.
If I didn't move them, I was fucking bugging out.
Right.
Like I had to move them.
Right.
Or else it was just more pain. So you're feeling all that, and that's why people keep taking it because it's like, fuck that.
Right.
I'm not fucking going through that pain.
Right.
Like, I'd rather just take the shit and fuck it. I'm just going to be taking the shit for the rest of my life. That's what your thought process
And
is.
also, when you took this, were you taking, was it just at one time you took the like 60 in those amount of time? Or did it turn into like,
on average, I would consume at least 20 to 25 a day.
Okay.
Which, if you understood how much that was, bro, your jaw would be on the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So let me get back to the story with the Hogue because it'll play to this.
Okay.
I go in day one. I'm obviously not taking medication anymore, right? I'm going through detox. Finally make it through detox. I start my stint at rehab. So now this is like my 8th day in the facility, right? Detox 7 days. Now first day in rehab. Okay. So they take blood work that day and you go through the motions, you get introduced to everyone, you're going through the program and all that shit, right? 1 week later, they test your blood again just to make sure.
While you're in the facility. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because some people do try to smuggle shit in and this and that and all that stuff,
yeah.
right? So they test it the following week. And I remember I took the blood and then I went to program or whatever, and I'm like chilling, doing my thing. And they call me and they're like, Bishoy, the doctor needs to see you. I was like, okay, what's going on? So I go in and he's like, so we got your blood work back. And I was like, okay, everything okay? He's like, no, it's not. And I was like, okay, talk to me.
Indian doctor as well?
No, this guy was Asian, I think.
Can you do an Asian accent?
No, definitely not. I'm not even gonna try it. We're canceled. You know that, right? It's already done. We might as well just stop shooting right now. No. So I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, I'm thinking he's gonna tell me like you have cancer or you have a fucking disease or some shit. He's like, we tested your levels for the drug. They have increased since you got here.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what? And I truly on my father.
Right.
I wasn't taking anything. Like, I was in the facility. Like, I wasn't trying to like have anyone smuggle shit in. Like, I was really trying to change.
Right.
And he's like, your levels have increased. Leading into me going in, I did a little stint. I took 120 of them in 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
So like this, and the medication apparently does like absorb to your fat.
Okay.
And obviously, I got plenty of that.
Right.
So
as it's being released,
it was getting higher.
Right.
Higher. So
were you feeling anything?
No, of course not.
This was just in your system.
No, it was just in my system. That was it. The other thing too was I was so dehydrated. You have no appetite when you're going through withdrawals. You have no desire to eat.
Right.
Like, you're just
still sick, bro.
Sick 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not drinking a lot of water. I'm not pissing a lot. I'm not getting out of my system. So it's just building.
Right.
So they thought I was smuggling stuff in, and they're like, listen, Bishoy, we don't think you are, but we have to check. Most embarrassing thing in my life, they pull me in the bathroom. Like, strip. And I was like, strip
cavity
what?
Search and stuff?
Cavity fucking search.
No way.
And at this time, I'm a fat ass. I'm 340, right?
You're at your highest.
I'm at my biggest weight because I just gave up on life. I stopped working out after my dad and stuff like that. Because this is also after my dad. When I was in rehab, it was after my father passed. Okay. So I stopped working out. I was just eating whatever. Like I said, I wasn't trying to kill myself, but I wasn't going to stop myself from dying.
It's like a slow suicide.
Yeah. It literally was. Yeah. So they bring me into the thing. The guy's like, we got to do it, bro. And I'm like, dude, really?
Bend over and cough.
He's like, bend over and cough. And I was
like,
fuck,
that's
man.
Something else.
And I was like, it's cold in that bitch. There's nothing. I'm fat as shit. You know what I mean?
Man,
it was just the most embarrassing experience I've ever went through.
Did you say that's the low right there?
No. There's more, bro. Okay. This is not even rock bottom yet.
Gotcha. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I
bottom is a son of a bitch.
Oh, it's a bitch. But there's no place but up afterwards, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise. But so I go through the cavity search. Obviously there's nothing. They go back to my room. My room's tossed. And they don't do you the courtesy of putting it back.
Right.
I mean, everything.
Right.
They go through the luggage, all that. But they finally realize nothing's there. They're like, okay, we're going to monitor it. And then finally the next week it came back down. So it was like better.
And you told them how many you took and all that.
Oh, yeah. The doctor was like, bro, I've never in my X amount of years of practice. And he was like a detox doctor. Like it was his specialty. He's like, I've never seen anybody that consumed that amount and is still breathing.
Right.
And I was like, dude, I don't know how I did it either, man.
And from that moment, he called you
Blue God.
Blue God.
He was like, Blue God, bro. And I was like, I know my connect called me that already.
Right.
But so yeah, so I go through the rehab. I get out of rehab. I go into a little halfway house for 6 months.
Okay. 6 months.
Yeah, it's like a sober living.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And hated it, actually. It was the worst. Like the guys were cool, but the guy that owned the house was kind of a dick and he was just all over the place. But yeah, I was there for 6 months. I was doing okay. And as soon as I got back to Eastville, I moved to Eastville at this time.
Okay.
So after my father passed, we moved to Eastville. And I was doing okay for a while. And then the mundaneness of life kicked back in. I'm not in shape. I'm not going out. I'm just working and coming home. So I'm getting bored. So I fall back into the life.
Oh my goodness. Right.
So I'm in Eastville, and this is even harder now because my connect is not in Eastville. So I'd have to meet him. And, you know, during this time too, like, you know, for those that have experienced this, like you can only hide it for so long, you know, so family finally gets
savvy to it.
Yeah. And they, you know, they were aware and it caused a lot of problems within my family. Yeah. So anyways, I'm back into it again, you know, even though I'm going through rehab and all that stuff. I finally get this job in LA. It's was for loans. I was doing loans, mortgage loans. And I'm working there, and I moved to what is it called? It starts with an R. Not Redondo, but it's like near LA. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called, but it's close to LA. Anyways, I moved there with a cousin.
Rosemead?
Okay. No, not Rosemead.
Okay.
Well, it'll come to me. Anyways, I moved there with a cousin. Okay. And when I came out of rehab, I didn't go right back to fentanyl. I started off with like perks again.
Okay.
Like Norcos, perks. And those you just take orally, right?
Right.
I was like, I low-key miss the blues. They're called blues. Like that's what you would refer to them on the streets. So I hit up my connect and I'm like, I low-key miss the blues, bro. And he was like, say the word, big dog.
Man.
Say the word, blue god. Say
so
the word.
Crazy.
And I was like, let's run it, bro.
This is why drug dealers literally are the scum of the fucking earth.
You know,
I really do have I mean, I understand they're filling a void in people and it's your responsibility.
Oh, 100%. It was on me. Yeah.
I understand that. But man, I just see when I'm sure he knew that you went to rehab. I'm sure he knew.
Oh, he knew.
Like all of the things.
Oh, he knew because I owed him money and he was hitting me
up. Of course. Yeah. Hey, I'm in rehab.
I was like, hey, bro, kind of in the middle of something, but I got you when I get out.
Right.
And he was like, all right, man, just making sure because I didn't want to have to send some fucking hitters for it.
Right.
You know, so
they'll hurt you if they don't get paid.
Yeah.
And then they just fill this.
But they're your best friend when you're, you know what I mean?
I know. It's just so interesting.
And I feel torn, man, because this sounds so stupid, but my connect was low key like a cool guy.
Yeah.
But he also too, like, he was like, hey man, like if you need to chill out, you need to chill out. But I kept on coming back. So to be fair to him, but you're at the same time, I feel what you're saying and you're right.
I get it.
I
definitely agree. It's all your fault. Like, look, it's your life. You take responsibility for that.
Oh, absolutely. And I know it too.
Yeah. But just as a man, like if I was responsible for, helping people destroy their lives.
Right.
Like.
I feel you. Yeah.
I don't have a lot of respect.
No, yeah. Yeah. But so I end up meeting with him. I pick up. Right. I go back to work at the office in LA, and it's in Century City. It's a nice place and all that stuff. And I take my first hit in the bathroom. Right. And I'm cool. I'm good. I'm like, all right, like my tolerance is still there. Because one of the biggest things is the reason why people OD is when they get out of rehab or if they come off of a stint, they end up going back to what they think they can handle.
Oh, yeah.
Their body's not used to it anymore.
For sure.
Boom, you're done.
Yep.
So I remember that day specifically because something crazy happened. So I'm at work, taking my first hit. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm good. Whatever. I finish work and I go home to my place I wish I knew where it was. I can't remember. But anyways, that new place with my cousin, right? My cousin happens to show up at the same time. And I'm like, you want to watch a movie? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So he's like changing, and I go to the bathroom, and I was like, let me get one more hit in before the movie.
Right.
So I take the hit. I walk out of the bathroom, and I'm walking towards the couch. And that's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember is hearing the sound of, like a grocery bag that you'd buy at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like if you crumple together that sound.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm everything's black. I'm coming to consciousness. Everything's black. I'm hearing that. And I'm also noticing it's really hard for me to breathe. And every time I breathe, I hear that sound. Like that. And I'm like that. And I hear my name, Bishoy. Bishoy, can you hear me? Bishoy, can you hear me? And I've finally come to, and I see 5 paramedics around me.
Whoa.
And I see my cousin looking at me like distraught.
Right.
And I'm like, what happened? What happened? I'm just saying, what happened? They're like, yo, deed, brother. Yo, deed. Yo, deed. And I'm like, I can't explain that feeling of being like revived.
Okay.
It is a very unique feeling to like be brought back to life in a sense.
Okay.
And they finally get me they Narcan me. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they Narcan me, and I come to, and they get me on my fat ass. They were like, they had to. It was a struggle, bro. Yeah. They're like, back it up, bro. Yeah. They had to get the crane on my fat ass, bro. It was like the 600-pound life where they have to like crane them out. So that was me, bro. Dang. So they get me on the gurney, and they're taking me, and I'm like, I don't get it. What happened? Like, and they're like, you took something, man. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Right. And they're like, don't say sorry to me, man. I was like, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Like, I was like appreciative. Right. So I go to the hospital, and they put me in the room. 2 cops roll up. They're like, what's up, bro? How you doing? We heard you had a little fun night. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking they're going to arrest me.
Right.
I don't know. And I was like, yeah, it was a wild one. And they're like, well, we just want to make sure you're not here to hurt yourself or something. I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I wasn't trying to do this. It just happened. And what's crazy is it was that situation. I got out of rehab. My tolerance wasn't what it was. Right. And I took thinking like, and I mean, I think I only took 4 up to that point. And 4 was like, didn't even wet my whistle back in the day. You know what I mean?
So your tolerance is no longer there.
No longer there. So I am in the bed. They keep me there for like 4 hours. And then, of course they call my family, and that was an experience, Yeah. My sister ended up having to come, and my cousin was just distraught. Right. She was just in tears.
She saw all this.
Yeah. And she, my cousin, I love her to death, and she loves me. Right. And, she was just like,
that's why she was distraught.
100%. Yeah. And she was just like, I think she was so distraught because she's like, is he trying to kill himself? Right. Or is, was it an accident? Yeah. And if he's trying to kill himself, like, she was like, please don't. Like, like, we love you. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty intense. And then after that, it was kind of like a big eye opener, because it was like, I was like, man, I'm not invincible, you know? And
take your time, man. It's okay.
And that was for sure, like rock bottom.
Right.
And it was just it was intense, and I just felt like I let everyone down, like my dad, my mom, my sister, and it was just I think it was, God's timing. I think at that point it was just like, fuck, man, you got to get it together. Like,
Right.
this is not for you. Like, this is just not the path that you're supposed to take. And luckily I just started to slowly try. And you know what I'm going to say next? Try till you die, Playboy. Try till you die.
Okay.
And, I said, you know what? God gave me an opportunity. If he wanted me to be gone, that was the chance. That was the time to do it.
Sure.
And I'm still here. So I firmly believe, like, this is what I'm meant to do, is share this story, because I know for a fact there's others out there that are dealing with what I dealt with.
Oh, that's for sure.
And I just, if this doesn't do anything, if we don't make no money, if we don't get one more follower,
Right.
if we don't get a comment, a like, if just one person watching, hears this,
right,
decides to change, like, that's all I care about,
right.
And
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you were going through that,
yeah,
at your lowest, I kind of think I know the answer, but I want to hear you say it.
Yeah.
If you were to watch a podcast like this,
yeah,
what do you think you would want to hear? And what do you think would actually be, okay, there's a difference from hearing it and like hearing it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
What do you think you could say, or what do you think someone would say
Yeah.
that you would hear that and it really hit home?
Yeah.
I mean, or does that person just kind of have to go through it?
You know what's sad, man? I thought about this, actually. It's crazy you bring this up. And I was like, if I was on the other end of that camera and I was watching this and I was deep in that lifestyle still, would this change me? And sadly, I think for a good majority of the people, all 80 of you watching, that sadly, probably like 80 to 90% of them have to go through it.
Right.
And the reality is, you hear people talking about their stories. And, that's why I say, if just one,
you're right.
If just one,
right.
I would be satisfied.
Right.
100%. And the reality is, like, when you're stuck in that life and you're in that darkness, you're in that abyss, and you're fully just enveloped in it, there's nothing that anybody can say or even do that's going to bring you out of it. You have to save yourself. And that was what I realized, was I was like, nobody's going to come save me.
Right.
Nobody gives a fuck about me.
Right.
Besides my family, nobody gives a fuck about me.
Right.
So either I get me out of this or I kick the bucket.
Right.
So when I started to think that way, that's what really changed it. Was I was like, man, you gotta fucking man up and do what you need to fucking do. Stop being a lazy little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Stop fucking acting like the victim.
Right.
Stop fucking allowing circumstances to dictate who you are and what you do.
Right.
Yep. So that's what made that shift. And, it's cheesy, but like I thought back to the younger me, the one that loved Kobe and was all about Mamba mentality. And I was like, if Kobe was in front of me right now, you'd be disgusted.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to go Mamba mode.
Right.
And my mindset at that point was, fuck everybody. I'm going to obliterate everything.
Right.
I'm coming back with vengeance.
Right.
And I started to just slowly, get back to my old self, tried to build better habits and stuff like that. And I still haven't perfected it, not even close.
Sure.
And, I went from 340, I've lost 100 pounds, I'm trying to get back to prime Bishoy or whatever. And, I'm still plenty of things that I need to work on, but I'm making progress, and that's all that matters, And for sure, the man that's sitting here with you right now doesn't even recognize the guy that was laid up in that bed and, going through all that.
Right.
So it's two different people. And that's why I say I'm so thankful for God's timing, because you would have never fucked with me, bro. If, during that time, 100%,
yeah.
And I wouldn't blame
me.
I wouldn't have blamed you either.
Sure.
If anything, I would have tried to even if you did hit me up during that time, I would have avoided it.
Right.
I would have been like, oh, I can't chill, bro. I'm sorry.
Right.
Because
you embarrassed yourself.
even if I did go out, bro, like, I mean, I was constantly going through withdrawals, even when I was taking it, because you had to stay constantly on it. Like I would have to use it like literally every like 10 minutes. I had to take a hit.
Right.
I had to take a hit.
Right.
I had to take a hit. So it was
being around anyone for a long period of time is just too much to like be able to handle. Right.
I would literally probably have to go. I need to use the bathroom.
Right.
Like, bro, you just went.
Right.
Yeah. I forgot to wash my hands.
Yeah.
So it was tough, you know, and that's why you know, people that are going through that become recluses and just revert back to like a hole in a sense, is because that's where you feel most comfortable. It's just me. I don't got to worry about anyone. I'm in my darkness. I have my light in this fucking drug here, and I'm happy. You know, that was happiness, you know, to be in a fucking dark abyss. As long as I had this shit, I'm good. I'm numb. You know, I'm not feeling nothing. So yeah, it was tough, man. It was really, really tough. And, you know, during that time too, like, I can't say this enough, man. Like, my sister was a fucking G. Yeah. Like, she held it down. She was not my biggest fan during that time.
Oh, I can imagine.
Granted, she had every right, but boy, man, like, that woman, I owe her everything. Yeah. You know, in addition to my mom, obviously, but, yeah, she held it down like no one could, you know? So it was definitely an experience, man. It was definitely an experience, but yeah, it was something that I think had to happen, honestly, for me to be propelled on this path. You know, I never thought in a million years we'd land a fucking insane studio where, you know, who are shooting and I'm here with you, you know, and we're trying to build this, you know what I mean? Like, this would have been a fantasy to me. I've always wanted to do it, you know, but I was like, I'll never be able to accomplish that again, you know, especially when I was in it. And to think that I'm here now, sitting here with you, and like, it's just a dream come true.
So where do you think the future holds?
Yeah.
For you, like as a man, let's not talk about financial. Let's talk about, how do you think, where do you think your mind, because this is all a mind thing, right?
Yeah.
So where do you think your mind is going as far as like, what growth do you expect from yourself?
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Yeah. I think for me, it's definitely first and foremost is strengthening and growing my relationship with God more than anything.
Absolutely.
And even in even in rehab, you know, they tell you to have a higher power, you know, whatever that is. For me, obviously it's God, but yeah, like, it all starts and ends with him, you know? And he wasn't a focus during that time, and look what happened. I went to the complete extreme opposite, you know? And, you know, I mentioned this, I think, in the last episode, and as far as like earlier in my life, when I was like in college, before even my second ex, and I was just like single, and I was just like focused on school, I would have a routine, and that routine would consist of, like, you know, if it was an off day from classes, I would go to Panera Bread, I'd bring my Bible, I'd bring my books, I'd read at least 2 chapters, and then I would do my homework. Okay. And I did that religiously. And I remember during that time in my life, it was also one of those brief moments where I was like happy. Like, I was like, things were going well. I was doing well in college. I was getting straight A's, Dean's List every quarter. You know, I was working on my relationship with God. I was even like trying to avoid like listening to secular music. Like, I was really trying to commit.
Sure.
And good old Satan has a way of creeping back in. When you're getting closer to him, this is what one thing I want people to realize is, when you're trying to work on that relationship with God, as you get closer, your life is going to get harder.
Yes.
But that's the point.
Yes.
That shows you're making progress, because the closer you get to God, the more Satan's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You're getting a little too close there, buddy.
Yeah, let me throw this out.
Let's bring it back here a little bit. And actually, on the opposite, when life is good and it's flowing and it's like things are just easy and stuff, and you're getting complacent and God's not that focus anymore, that's when Satan has you in his like limbo. That's when you're brainwashed. You're just like, all right, he's perfect. He's doing his thing. He's drinking. He's focused on girls. He's doing drugs. He's doing everything right.
Are all there.
Good job, buddy. You're on pace. You know
exactly.
But when I focused on God and I tried to get closer to Him, that's when things started to take a turn for the worse. But look, I wasn't mature enough in that moment to realize that's what it was.
Right.
Now, at this age and knowing what I know now, it's like, now I expect it. You know, I want the pain. I want to embrace it. It's like that David Goggins mindset, right?
Carry the boat.
Yes, sir. That's the truth, you know? But that's the thing that I think people get caught up in, and then they blame God and stuff like that. It's like, bro, anything in life that is worth pursuing is not easy. So what makes you think that the ultimate thing in life, which is a relationship with God, the Almighty, is going to be easy?
Right.
It's not. It's going to be hard. And that's what the difference is like, as far as like, I feel like having true faith and believing like, even though I'm being persecuted, even though life is hard, even though things aren't going my way, I know God still got me. Even though it doesn't seem like that, I know He still got me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah.
Wow. It's a lot, man.
I know.
You know, I mean, we haven't talked in what, 10 years? I mean, what's it been?
I want to say maybe 12.
Yeah, maybe 12, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of life lived in that amount of time.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let me ask you this. The one thing I'm not hearing is what are your steps? I understand the relationship with God, and this also goes with what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
What are you doing to love yourself and to change? So there's a shift in your mind.
Yeah.
That has to shift to be like, for one, you don't feel good enough. You don't feel worthy enough. You know, there's a list of things that let you go down all the roads you went down.
Right.
You know, whether even from a kid, I think that all compounded on being a little bit more overweight. Then as an adult, when you became overweight, it sounds to me like that, you know, when you allow yourself to get to that point and to get to that unhealthy of a level, it's a lot of self-hatred. Not even self-hatred, just not caring enough about yourself.
Right. Lack of loving yourself.
Lack of loving yourself to be disciplined on, you know, staying on the right path. Right. And not on the right path for what the world wants, but on the right path of what your body needs, your mind needs, all these different things.
Yeah.
You know, I know ever since, you know, pretty much when I started hitting 40, is really when I really started getting into what like Stoicism is about. And I'm an absolute Christian, but I like the practices of Stoicism and the mind control that Stoicism offers.
Yeah.
Just as a man, it almost tells you how to act as a man. I mean, the Bible does as well, but Stoicism has a lot of that.
Right.
And just being able to really control your emotions, control your mind on a lot of different levels.
Right.
And really loving like allowing the feelings to come in, because look, all these feelings come into your life, right? And whether it is depression or these different things, and then you're using that depression as like power to actually better yourself,
right?
Using those weaknesses as like a fuel, right? That I'm not going to feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
And so do you think you've kind of realized those yet? I mean, do you think you've, like, psychologically, do you think you've gotten to the point of like, it is a love point for myself? It is obviously it's a separation between you and God. Where is the point where it's a separation of like, do you love yourself enough to not fall down these roads again?
Yeah.
Like, where do you feel like you're in that?
Yeah. Great question. I think for me, as cheesy as it's going to sound again, but it goes back to like mind, body, spirit, right? If you are focused on those three things and you're doing the actions required to maintain those things, I feel like that's my mindset now. Is like, I'm focused on my mind, making sure like I'm like acknowledging mental health and like, okay, like, hey, you know, if you're feeling sad, be aware or whatever, you know, like just I'm more fixated on it.
Yep.
As well as like my
body
aware
of it.
Right.
Maybe not even aware of it.
I really wasn't.
The emotions just
although happened. I was like going through it, I never thought during that time I was like, oh, I'm depressed.
Right.
I was just like, I feel normal.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like anything specific. like not really motivated to do anything, and I like to sleep a lot. Like those are all the signs of
you feel better.
Drugs make me feel better, and like I wasn't being social. So like all the signs of like antisocial, sleeping a lot,
right.
Compulsive behaviors like doing drugs, shit like that. Like these were all signs of depression.
Right.
And yeah, at that time I didn't realize it, but now after like educating myself and like reflecting as well, like it took a lot of reflection, and I feel like a lot of people, they don't want to do that because they're scared of what they're going to see. And I was too, but the reality was like, for me to even be able to tell my story, like, this is not easy, right? Like I know people are going to judge me, but the reality is I don't care.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
The reason why I don't care is because now my focus is back on him.
Right.
As long as he knows my heart, as long as he knows me, as long as he still loves me, I'm happy.
And he'll love you forever.
Of course. Yeah. So it's like, I also, I think this comes along with maturing, it's just like it's just a normal evolution for us. But, as you get older, and you can attest to this too, is like you said in the first episode, like, you don't have a lot of friends. You got your circle tight.
Yep.
That's all I care. Like, give me my 2, 3, 4 boys that are like my ride or dies, my mom, my sister, and my extended family. I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
Right.
The rest is for the birds, like
right,
you like to say. You know what I mean? So, what
you'll found is the reality is those people, like, sad to say, they just don't care.
Right. They don't.
You surround yourself with people who actually care. And the people who care, they show up.
Exactly.
And, and there's no offense. Not everyone has to care.
Right.
Everyone has the people in their lives that they care about.
Right.
And you can't expect everyone to care because people only have, I think we're only really capable of seriously caring about a really select group of people.
Yeah.
And we care about them for whatever reason, but that's who we really care about.
Right.
And it's no knock on any of these people, but,
yeah.
But you only care about so many people too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't knock the people who don't care about you.
Exactly.
It's just, you're in the same boat they are.
100%.
Right? So it's not a problem.
Exactly. It's not like I hold it against them.
No, of course not.
Like, no, I get
absolutely.
it. Like it would be weird if you did care too much.
True.
Especially if I wasn't like your blood relative.
Yeah, we don't know each other that well. And
aside from like my core guys,
yes,
like you, Evan, Steven, Lavelle and Josh, like that's like my top 5, right? So like those guys, like I consider like brothers, but yeah, the extended, it's acquaintance, if anything, like, yeah, we're cool, but it's like, I know that person's not going to come if I need him at 2:00 in the morning.
No, of course not. Yeah.
I know you would, I know Josh would, I know Lavelle would, I know Evan would, I know Steven would, I know my family would,
right.
So
exactly.
And just to even go back to your point of like, what am I doing now? This is everything for me. This is my therapy,
right?
Being able to sit here with you and then the guest lineup that we have planned. And man, you guys are going to want to see the guests that we have planned. It's going to be sick. This is like what's keeping me grounded, aside from my focus on God, aside from me focus on my nutrition and my health and my, and working out again and stuff like that.
Working out, I think, is another big one.
Huge, and just to piggyback off that too, as well. Like I look back, and when I was consistently in the gym, my life was better.
Yeah, of course.
I was able to handle my mental like stress and depression better too, but that when that depression overtakes you and then you stop doing those actions that kept you grounded or kept you at a stable level, obviously you're going to fall deeper, deeper and deeper,
what I've, in my experience, I've seen people, it's down, you have either a spiral down or spiral up,
right?
And everything comes from either many wins or many losses.
Right.
And I don't mean many as in many, I mean many.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you were feeling this way, I'm sure you were lying.
Yeah.
Often.
Oh, Lord
right?
God.
I'm sure you held more guilt. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you held more self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you go down the list of these negative emotions.
Yeah.
And many turned into many as you went down. Right. And stopping that, wherever that, that baseline or that rock bottom, whatever you want to hit.
Yeah.
And then starting the many and many in the positive direction, lying less.
Yeah.
Being more, just a little bit more honest each day.
Yeah.
Being a little bit more, and not even honest with everybody else, honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just telling yourself like, man,
Yeah.
you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Yeah.
You know, being honest on all these different levels.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a liar?
Right.
It sucks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And even when you know it's a white lie that no one needs to know about it, you still know about it.
Right.
God knows about it.
Yes.
And those little things in your head keep you in that lower state.
Yeah.
Because you're telling yourself that you're a liar.
Right.
You're telling yourself that you don't want to be around this person. You're telling yourself, like, subconsciously, all these things are playing, right? And, you know, again, what it sounds like to me is you're starting to like start those mini minis. And I think that's really important.
100%.
You know what I mean? You know, and also another thing is starting with goals that are really, really small.
Right.
Starting with small goals. Like, look, I'm going to do 5 push-ups today. Not 20, not 100. I'm not going to spend 2 hours in the gym. I could do 5 push-ups a day. I could read 1 passage of Bible a day. I could, it's hard. Like Jordan Peterson has a great line. It says, I'm not going to, what is it? I'm not going to, lie. Sorry. Yeah.
I just want to
get you back. It's not that I'm lying. Don't, you don't have to tell the truth about everything, but you at least don't lie.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
So you don't have to just keep your mouth shut, but don't lie. Don't come up with a obvious wrong story that's just not true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's kind of what you're saying is happening.
Do you have a hammer? Because you fucking nailed it.
You
fucking nailed it. I mean, literally, you nailed it. I mean, word for word, that is exactly what I am experiencing currently.
Right.
Those mini minis. And it's so funny you say that because it was like that for me. I did start off small. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do 10 reps on the Smith rack.
Right.
Just 10.
Right.
Let me just do fucking 10 and you're done, Bishoy. I promise.
Sure.
You know, I had to like bargain with myself, right? In the beginning. Now it's like, all right, I'm going to do 4 sets of 10 on the Smith. I'm going to do 4 sets of buys and I'm going to do 4 sets of abs.
Right.
Just 4 sets each. That's it. You're done. You've done way more with Evan and Tim.
Sure.
Way more.
Sure.
You can do 4 sets for tomorrow. All right. I'm going to do 4 sets. Plus I'm going to run 20 or I'm going to do my bike for 20 minutes. And I just slowly started adding.
Right.
Slowly started. I told myself, I was like, you have to be realistic with yourself. Like you said, I did that self-reflection. That's hard to do for some people, but I said, I have to, or else where am I going to go?
Right. And
I did that self-reflection. And as I did that self-reflection, I realized, okay, you know the problems you need to fix now. Let's fucking fix them.
Right.
What are the actions you're going to take to fix them? And then I started to plan out what those actions were.
Right. Because that's all really a self-esteem issue. You know, once your self-esteem issue, and that's where that's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
That's really, you know, I think that's problem with the world today is we're really lacking a lot of people who have self-esteem.
Yeah.
And it's because they've let themselves down so many times that they have a hard time, you know, thinking good about themselves where they actually think they're either capable of doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a very common problem.
It really is. It really is.
A lot of people. So
that's why I did feel the need to share it was because I was like, I'm not the only one.
No.
You know what I mean? Like not by no means.
By no means.
You know?
And there's levels to all of it.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's people at home who aren't drug addicts,
right,
but are food addicts.
Right.
Who are addicts on purchasing just shopping.
Or porn or whatever.
Oh, no doubt. There's porn addicts. There's lighter drug addicts. You know, it's down the list of all of it. And it really is. And you know, and I don't mean like, I'm sure you didn't go from 0 to fentanyl.
Right.
You know I mean? It was a slow progression.
Absolutely.
Many minis getting you to this point.
Yes.
And it's going to take many minis
to get
you out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I think it's amazing that you're at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I think it is, you know, so again, you got to be patting yourself on the back.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
And your life is going to be, and my life, all of our lives, needs to be a point where, you know, never ends. The mini minis can happen at any time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In either direction.
Yeah.
You know, you get in a car accident and you get hurt. You can't do this again.
Yeah.
And this is why it's all going to be, everything really is a mental game. You can't control what disease you get. You can't control what your health is like.
Yeah.
You can't control what happens to your family, your sister. You can't control any of these things.
Right.
But you can control how you react to it.
Yeah.
And God will give you the way.
100%.
You know, God can direct you in all of these directions. It's all in that book.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing.
It's a pretty good book. You guys should try it. It's called the Bible.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
You know, to piggyback off that, my favorite thing about God and my favorite scripture, I guess you could say, is the statement that God will never test you past your limits.
Yes.
When you fully understand that and you embrace that and you truly believe that,
right,
you can take on anything because you know whatever's in front of you is something that you can handle.
Right.
But if you don't have that faith and you don't have that trust in him to know that, hey, I'm doing this because I know you can handle it, Bishoy.
Right.
So now looking back, I'm proud of myself because I'm like, damn, he really put me through the ringer and I got through. I'm on the other side. And that's my hope for somebody watching is maybe I can get through it. Right. Maybe I can start.
Yeah. I love the saying where, you know, going back to what you just said, it says, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Take your time. I really want to know if you don't mind.
It's a really good one. No, I know.
Think about it. Think about it for a little bit. We got time, bro. We pay for the full hour.
God will give you more than you can handle. And can you repeat what you just said?
God will never test you past your limits.
We have to do some editing.
Some editing here.
Oh man, that's good too.
If it comes to you,
we'll
just stop me and tell me because I really want to know. What did you? Now I have a question for you actually, and if you're okay with talking about it, but you had mentioned that your father had a little bit of a drinking problem.
Yes.
How did that affect you?
Oh, it affected me big.
Do you feel like that's why you're so turned off to it? Because
that's it.
This is what's so fascinating to me is, some people, they might have that experience and then they fall into it because they're like, that was my example.
Yes.
So I find it so incredibly inspiring that you experienced that and you decided to go the opposite path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either, it's like the two brothers who had the same dad and one chose to be just like their dad. One chose to be exactly not like their dad.
Right.
You either use the example of what to be or what not to be.
Yeah.
I definitely looked at my dad. Again, my dad was very similar to yours. He showed his love by, he came home every day. He worked hard for us every day. We never felt like we went without.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like he held himself back from just, being part of the family. And
do you feel like you got that type of affection and love that
absolutely because my mom gave it to me.
Okay.
My mom was that superstar.
Yeah.
And she really gave me all the love I could ever have needed. So my mom, regardless of what I did, I was always proud. She was always proud of me. She was always there on all the different, any sporting event I had, she was right there.
Yeah.
Even to this day. I mean, she's right there with me.
See the difference, like say from your mom and my mom. Again, my mom is my rock in my heart, right? I will kill for that woman without hesitation. Right. But she is the type to, say I came home and I made the dean's list, right? And she would see my report card or whatever, or the freaking, I don't even know what you call it in college, but the grade sheet, whatever. Sure. And she'd see A+, A+, A-. I made the dean's list.
Right.
Why not the A+ here? I'm like, Mom, I made the dean's list.
Right.
I'm the dean of the school. He has a list.
Right.
And only certain people get on that list.
Right.
And you have to do this to get on that list.
Right.
It's okay, but next time A+ here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So I didn't get, I'm proud of you.
Right.
I didn't get, wow, how'd you do it? Oh, you're so smart. It was next time A+ here.
Right.
So that, even though I know she loved me and I know she was proud internally, I never heard it.
Yeah.
I never saw her physically express it.
Right.
It was never a hug. Oh, you did great.
Right.
It was,
yeah,
you can do better.
You could have done better. Right.
And I get it. It's just how she is. It's how our culture is and, how she was raised and whatnot. And I know she was proud internally. Like I said, I know she was happy for me internally, but it was maybe I was just that person that I needed that love. I needed that affection.
You say that person. I think everyone is that person.
You're right.
I think everyone needs that. And I think a lot of kids who don't have that, honestly, feel very similar to you.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to love yourself when, like unconditionally love yourself.
Yeah.
Right. When someone, you're not really feeling that unconditional love. Like, it's almost like if you had all A pluses, you almost have in your head, like at that point, I would have felt unconditional love.
Right.
But so it's always this, like, I have to go above and beyond.
Right.
The reality is, even if you got all A pluses, typically you probably wouldn't have felt that way because the culture just doesn't like love that way.
Right.
Their love is just different.
Their love language is different.
Yeah, it's just different.
And I think that's why I was so heartbroken with my second ex is because I got that love and affection from her. She would say things like, I'm proud of you and stuff like that. And on top of us just having an incredible connection.
Right.
Like, she was my source of happiness because, like, I know I could go to her and tell her.
Right.
And she's going to, show me that love. And when I lost that, it was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then that's when I replaced her with, like, the drugs in a sense. You know what I mean? Because the drugs never judged me. They never told me I could do better. They were just like, take this and relax, playboy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's tough.
It was, man.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
At this point, and then in this room, I think we're gonna.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we should really continue this. And
you're totally reevaluating the whole thing. You're like, oh fuck, I didn't know I was getting into it with this guy.
No, honestly, look. All of this is maturity.
Yeah.
And again, since you kind of grew up in that environment, I think you really, to be honest, I really think it's God's timing.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
God is the ultimate of planners,
100%.
and you're here, and your story will continue to, inspire other people,
right?
As long as you,
absolutely,
I mean,
and that's why I need this, is because it's going to keep me accountable,
right?
I want to keep setting that example for those that are watching that may be dealing with the same thing. And, obviously the show is not just about this. Like, we're going to do so much, it's so many different topics and so many subject matters and whatnot. But, I just felt it was important for the world to know who you were and who I was and why they should be watching. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and, what we bring to the table as far as our life experiences and our, successes in life and our failures in life.
Yeah, listen, there's lessons in failures and there's lessons in successes. I think, and I also think most lessons are done in failure.
Yeah. You, in my personal opinion, you cannot succeed until you fail.
Yes.
I mean, and it's, again, so, you've heard it 1,000 times, but, you hear stories about, like, Jeff Bezos. He got 67 no's on Amazon before he got a yes, and now look at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
it's the persistence.
You have to, no one. And the other thing too is, when you do start to make progress and success, don't expect people to be happy for you and cheer you on. No. They want to tear you down because they don't like that you're doing better than them.
Right. No.
They don't like that you're like, oh shit, he's starting to make progress.
Yeah.
Hey man, you suck at this. Hey man, you're this.
Right.
So that's why I say I expect the hate.
Right.
I embrace it. I need it because it's my fuel.
Yes.
It's that Mamba mentality.
It needs to be. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because that's exactly it. People love you. They want you to do good. They're going to be a cheerleader until you're doing better than them. And then all of a sudden,
it's like, all right, chill, bro.
Take it back a notch. It's like,
come down with me.
You were rooting for me to do well, and then now you're hating on me. Like, what is good?
Fuck, bro?
Right.
Like, I thought you were my boy. Yeah.
But that's human nature, man. Envy's a mother.
It is.
It's just a mother.
It is.
But it is a human emotion, and we all feel it.
Oh, 100%.
Some people let it get the best of us, and some people, kind of move on from it.
But like I said, I embrace it because I'm like, you know what? If you can look at it through that lens and not be emotional about it, it's actually a blessing because one, you now filter out the people that don't care about you, that are just distractions in a sense.
Right.
You realize who does, and you know who your ride or dies are, and you know who you can count on, and you know you can grow and build something with. And on top of that, I think it actually makes life simpler. The less commotion you have around you, the less extending of yourself that you have to do with like these friendships and with these scenarios, the more you can focus on your grind, the more you can focus on yourself, the more you can focus on your relationship with God, the more you can focus on your business, the more you can focus on your job, whatever it is. you can focus on it because you don't have these outside distractions keeping you away from it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm, you know, what I would like to see and what I want and what I expect of myself is to grow this into a big hit, to be able to bring people on to tell their insane stories and help inspire others, and to create a movement more so than a brand. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's the goal.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, man, this is a great day.
It was.
I'm happy you shared this all with us, and
appreciate you coordinating and quarterbacking. Appreciate that.
Yeah. I think let's continue. We'll see you all next week.
100%. I do want to make one shout out. I just have to say this because it was just like one cool experience. I just have to say shout out to the card guy. Super down to earth, nice guy. This guy is like big time.
Right.
And like he took the time to talk to me like I'm a nobody.
Right.
And he was super chill, just so genuine, so nice, like coolest guy in the world. He followed the podcast. Like
awesome.
I just want to say thank you, Evan. You're fucking dope as shit, bro. Like I really hope you find success. I mean, you already found success, but I hope you continue to grow it. And you know, I'm an ambassador of the card guy brand. So I just want to say good looking out, man, and appreciate the love and the support. And then for those that are watching, please like, subscribe, comment, please tell us what you think. We'd love to hear your ideas on any subjects you want us to discuss. And even if you don't like us, please like, subscribe. Hopefully we fail. Maybe that'll make you happy, but just keep watching. That's all we care about. Right. Episode 2. It's in the books.
Let's go. Over my
man. That was good.
That's good. Yeah.
That's good.